0-5 start for the Marlins, but there's no reason to panic. There should be reasons for optimism. There's probably some reasons for concern, but myself and the UK GOAT, Sean Barrett, giving our views on how the Marlins have started the 2024 campaign, all on today's Locked On Marlins.
You are Locked On Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Greetings from England. Welcome to Locked On Marlins. This is your daily Marlins podcast. I'm your host, Peter Pratt. Hit me up at Miami Marlins _UK. If you're listening to the pod, of course, hit subscribe and leave a review. This is your team every day, and thanks for making Locked On Marlins your first listen of the day. Guys, delighted to welcome back in the house Sean Barrett. But reminder, there is a YouTube channel. If you want to see Sean Barrett and his glorious beard, make sure you head over to the YouTube channel as well. Hit subscribe and join us in the comments. Sean Barrett back in the house. We are going to have main takeaways today, Sean. We're going to have reasons for optimism. How are we doing?
Doing well, Pete. That might be the worst tease ever. Come to see Sean Barrett. 0-5 to begin the season, and you're looking for optimism. Of course, I was the first person you thought of.
Who are you going to call?
I'll do my best, buddy.
For sure. I know where you stand and where your projection was at for this year. And I think that's a really good starting place. Like, it's only 5 games. It's been 5 L's. But at the same time, everyone's heads were in slightly different places this year. You know, you may have been thinking, can the Marlins do it again? Can they find a way to be over 500? It's the same team. Full year of Berger and Bell, maybe. Others were maybe on the more pessimistic side and thinking, this doesn't quite look like a 500 club. And we spoke about this before we hit record. And actually, I think it's a really good point. You know, 5 games shouldn't really slant your view that much. It shouldn't be a needle mover. If you were optimistic, great. If you were pessimistic and didn't think they were really competing, fine. You're probably feeling like you're on the right side of this at that point. But with that being said, Sean, I know you were on the pessimistic side. I don't think you believe the Marlins would win more than 70 games this year, if I remember correctly. So probably an 0-5 start isn't surprising. But, you know, with that being said, let's talk through the main takeaways. When you look at big picture, big theme here for the Fish, 0-5, what's been like your top 1-2 takeaways from the campaign thus far?
I think a lot of it is essentially it is what I expected to see. I think the puck experiment in the starting rotation through one start. Let's not say that it's not worked. It isn't going to work. But if you were going to look at it with a pessimistic view like I did and say that you'd prefer to see him at the back end of the rotation, as I did, this first start was a microcosm of what you could see going wrong. Started off well, lost a bit of control in the first inning, and then the pitch count just was up, and that was all said and done. That's what or at least I would expect to see in a first major league start from a career reliever. But one start. Let's not burn the bridges. And I think you're absolutely right in the sense of whatever your opinion of this season was should not be changed by 5 games. If this 5-game stretch was in May, June, July, you wouldn't even bat an eyelid because 5-game losing streaks happen. It's just because it's the first 5 games. So as pessimistic as I can be, I would honestly say if you thought this team had a chance to make the playoffs, you shouldn't be dissuaded by this start.
Yeah. But reminder for those that are listening and watching now, you didn't fall into that camp. At all. And neither did I, actually. I didn't believe this roster and this front office, actually. It isn't just this roster. It's this front office combined with the roster was really set up to be a playoff contender this year for a couple of reasons. One of which, the pitching injuries really hurt. You know, you look at it, you got 4/5 of your rotation out at the moment. Sandy's out for the full year. And wait to see how quickly the other guys get back. So 4/5 of your rotation being down that's going to be tough for any organization to overcome. But frankly, the other clubs around in the NL have added at pace and spent. The Marlins have done basically next to nothing and moved away some guys too. So they've netted it out. You add Anderson and then you move Birdie and it kind of nets out. And so all indications were that like the Marlins weren't really that serious about 2024, in my opinion. It's a bit of a development year, etc., etc. Not the sexiest message to fans, but hey ho. My main takeaway, just to call it out, is I was slightly more optimistic than you were in the overall wins and losses. My main takeaway from these first 5 games were the Marlins absolutely put themselves in the position to win multiple games, and they didn't get it done. And it isn't like it's 0-5 and you've been completely spanked, and this is like, oh my days, this roster is bereft of any talent. The offense looks fun in parts. The rotation is a work in progress, but there's interesting parts there too. The bullpen has been uncharacteristically unnails. Whatever the opposite of nails is, someone on Fish on First live stream said it's hammer. The opposite to nails is hammer. But I'm not convinced that is correct. I'm looking for something else, another blunt object maybe. But nevertheless, the bullpen has definitely been a challenging area. But overall, I'd say the Marlins put themselves in a position to win multiple games. I think they could have easily been 3-2, after 5 games. They could have and in 2023, they would have probably been 3-2. And I think that's it. It's like marginal, little fine gains, little bounce of the ball here and there. So this club is not putrid. There's plenty to like of the guys that are here. And it's going to be a fun year either way. Like, it's fun having baseball on, clearly. That's why we follow the game this closely. But my main takeaway is this roster has talent. They've just had a sluggish, sloppy start, I think. And AJ Puck, I think, was, to your point, is a really interesting one. Let's talk about Puck briefly because, like you said, he lost his commander touch in the first inning, but he got through it. And then the second inning, like, it's just like he was talking after the game about a grip issue, which kind of sounds a bit weird, to be honest with you. Like, a grip issue? What does that mean? Like, the baseball is the baseball, right? Like, have you got an injury? What's going on? Is it sweat? Is it just anxiety? Mental? Like, I don't really know what was happening with Puck, but, it couldn't probably have been a worse start in many ways. Like, I mean, it was Eddie Cabrera 2.0. It was pretty synonymous with an Eddie Cabrera start from last year where he just walked everyone under the sun, ran out of pitches, and it was like, let's get him out of there. But, it was his first time starting a game. I think he handled it from a media perspective pretty well after. And he was like, listen, I'm going to be back. I'm going to be ready to go next time around. So, bit of a weird one though, Puck, right?
Yeah, it's a case of it's something unusual for him, isn't it? This is his first start. Yeah. And the way I look at it is, if I want to try and be positive, is I look at what we were saying about Jazz at centre field last year.
Yeah,
first couple of games, this experiment's not working. They need to bin it off, put him back into second base, and let's just move on from it was a mistake. And so we could all say that about Puck right now. Getting back in the back end of the rotation, Lord knows they need it. But if this year is a try it year, then leave him there. Give him 3, 4, 5, 6, the whole year to work it out and see if that works out. And if it doesn't, then yeah, you put him in the back end of the rotation and you move on. But I do think that, again, if you went into the season with positivity, looking for excitement from Puck in the rotation, you've got this elite back-end reliever who can build up the length to be a starter. That would be great. Great value. A great move for the Marlins if it works. Don't let one game dissuade you from it. Don't think that the experiment's over. Just stay the course. We've seen what it can look like early in a transition. And now we're seeing the fruits of it because Jazz is a genuinely quality elite centre fielder. And who would have thought that a year ago? Quite literally today.
Yeah, exactly. It's a really great point, Sean, to be honest with you. And I think it's such a great comparison to make, really, of like, it takes time. This guy is being asked to do something he's never done before at the big league level. And like Jazz, extremely talented as Jazz is, and as an athlete, it took time. It's going to take time for Puck. The really interesting bit, though, for Puck, for me in general, is like Trevor Rod, like considering the rotation the way it's set right now, like considering some of the challenges maybe the bullpen has had, we don't know how they're going to get in their groove or not, but Braxton Garrett sounds like he's on track. He's 3-4 rehab starts away. Eddie Cabrera's maybe shorter than that. He's already, back making rehab starts. So you may have a couple of guys back. Yuri's even further away, but the decision's going to come. Who do you roll with? How do you manage this? Could it be that actually the greatest need for Puck actually becomes back in the pen? If Nardi and Scott are struggling a bit, or they're being asked to do too much because, well, Soriano's broken down. They don't trust Sixto, and Bender's still working his way back. Maybe actually they have to pull the pin on this Puck experiment. I don't want to say experiment, it's probably a little bit unfair, but they basically kind of call out and say, actually, AJ, we need you in the pen more than the rotation right now, considering what else we've got and the tools available to us. So could you see that happening? Or would they just persevere with Puck fully stretched out, leave him starting if it's working? Because to your point, like in 3 starts time, we're looking and go, man, Puck's looking great as a starter, but if the bullpen's dead, then maybe they think, actually, let's get him back in the pen. So how do you think they play this out?
Yeah, I think you get time. I think you get Puck 2 or 3 more starts. With the guys coming back, you're going to see a few more starts from Puck. And if it's the same, if it's 2 innings, 6 walks every time, then you're very quickly going to have to pull that plug and say that we can't keep doing this. But I think in a year of development, a year of trying things and trying to squeeze the talent you've got on the roster, leaving Puck there is hopefully going to be the thing. These guys coming back, they're not going to be fully stretched out. There's no issue having a couple of your quote-unquote starters as long men out of the pen. We've seen how much the Marlins have needed some innings out of the pen recently. So having too many starters is never a bad thing. I think you give Puck every opportunity to try and either succeed or fail. And I think he will get that time just because these guys aren't going to come back tomorrow. But you're right. If it's not working, then very quickly he could move there. But I think they will give him, in a year of trying, every opportunity to try and see if it will work.
Yeah, great point. We're going to segue over to reasons for optimism. Even though the Marlins are 0-5, me and Sean will find some reasons for you to be optimistic about this club. Before we do that, I'm going to let you know about our good friends over at PrizePicks. All right, guys, PrizePicks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 3 million members. It is the easiest and most exciting way to get in on the action while you watch your favorite sports and players. You just pick more or less than on 2 or more player stats and watch the winnings roll in, baby. Spring training is over and baseball season is officially underway. Don't miss your chance to add your favorite players from the diamond into your PrizePicks entries, whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, or first inning runs. That's where the action's at for the Marlins, no doubt. Take your pick of more or less than and add them to your PrizePicks entry today. You can get in on the playoff action and win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks as you and the world's best players take the game to a new level during basketball's postseason. Yes, sir. So, guys, what have you got to do? You have to download the app today. The app is PrizePicks. You download that app and use the code LOCKEDONMLB. That code is all lowercase, and that gets you a first deposit match up to $100. Reminder, download the app, use the code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. All right, guys, back here with me, Peter Pratt, and the UK GOAT, Sean Barrett, and we're taking a holistic view of an 0-5 start. That's how I would describe it. Main takeaways, and we're now segueing into reasons for optimism. I do want to add one other main takeaway, and it's just a very brief one, Sean, because we haven't spoken about this yet either. But another main takeaway is there's too much media noise linked to this club. Too many storylines linked to Jazz and Avi whinging to the media. The guys need to just tighten it up. There's no need for that. And let's just get away from that situation. If they're crap on the field, they're crap on the field, fine. But we don't need issues linked to roof open shadows and guys being booed, etc., etc. Like, play the game, and just, suppress some of those thoughts or feedbacks and keep them internal. Anyway, with that being said, Sean, reasons for optimism. Where are you seeing the green shoots of optimism for this 2024 Marlins roster after 5 games?
So, first one, and most importantly for me, not because it's just this year, but it's the future of the team as well. It's Max Meyer being back. He was, the number one prospect. He was going to be the, de facto ace when he finally makes it. He showed everything in the minors, came up to the majors, really excited, and then Tommy John surgery wrecked his year. And the surgery now is at that point where you feel quite confident that the guy's going to return to his former glory. But when you're talking about a young guy that hasn't quite really made a dent in the major leagues, you're always concerned. And he looked, for his first start back, great. The velo was there. The slider was working very nicely.
Yeah,
absolutely a reason for optimism. If like me, and I know there are people out there like that who don't have a positive outlook on the success of this year, this is what keeps us in it, or at least keeps me in it. Those young guys that are performing, and you can see what's the future. Him in the rotation in 2025 with Luzardo and with Sandy back and Uri healthy. Like, these are the things that get my juices flowing. So to see Meyer on the mound and performing first game back, absolutely key. Another one, as far as optimism for me, we spoke about it all. Yeah, I've got 2. I might even have a third.
Oh my days!
You've already mentioned it. Full season of Bellenberger. That was the thing that kind of kept us in the off season. They're still not signed anybody. But the Bell-Berger combination, compared to what they were rolling out at the beginning of last season at first and third, this is a massive upgrade. And both of them are hitting. Both of them are performing well. Bell's chugging around the bases like I don't know what.
Yeah, he was yesterday.
He was yesterday. He really was moving, wasn't he? I think I referred to him as looking like he was running in porridge, but he just about. It was a nice slide, to be fair to him.
It was
a nice slide. Both of them hitting well for the Marlins in this early stages is absolutely key. And my final one is another return, and that's Bender. Now, don't look at that ERA. It's not particularly nice. But if you look at the advanced stats, the FIP, the XFIP, the Ks, 5 Ks in 8 outs, he looks really good at the moment. And I think having him back, he is, in my eyes, a back of the end bullpen piece.
Yeah.
They found him in the independent league a couple of years ago, and I've been a big fan of his ever since. To see him back on the mound is a huge positive for me.
I think it's fair to say that the trend with your reasons for optimism linked to returning guys. Really, it's like seeing these guys back and in the mix and performing. And I think Max Meyer absolutely has been probably the standout, I guess, of all of them. Berger in reality has been the offensive standout and has had a really great start of the year, which has been impressive. But Max Meyer, I mean, just on Max's start yesterday, I thought it was really interesting because the main thing with Max Meyer is we know the slider plays. We absolutely know it. The fastball is fine, I would say. It's fine. But the slider's definitely the strength. And clearly, the past since he's been drafted, effectively, it's been how do we work in the changeup? That's like the necessary requirement to take him to the next level, I would say. I thought it was really interesting that he struck out Trout early on, and Trout then got him back. It was on a 3-2 count, and Max Meyer went at him with a changeup. Okay, Trout got him. Boy, he got Soriano as well the next time around, and he hit a ball where only Stanton hits balls, to be honest. So anyway, let's not talk about Soriano. He's had a putrid start to the year. He's got no slider. So we're talking about a guy that has a slider in Meyer, and Soriano has just lost his. Skip Schumacher spoke about that after the game. But for me, that was super encouraging. The Max Meyer in a true leverage spot against one of the best hitters there's ever been in baseball. 3-2 count, tight game. He went for the changeup to try and strike him out. Super encouraging. The result wasn't what he was looking for. The outcome wasn't what he wanted. But I like that. I like that from Max. I like that mentality. And that's, Sean, for me, that's what Max Meyer, that's the next evolution. Like, if he can get that changeup to a point where it's as nearly as effective as a slider, then boy, oh boy, the Marlins have got a pitcher on their hands, in my opinion. So what was your take around that kind of general topic area?
Yeah, so obviously the fastball is fine. It's a high velocity fastball. It's fine, but it doesn't get swing and misses.
No,
and
it
that's
doesn't.
been the case in the minor leagues, working his all the way up. We know that he is predominantly a two-pitch pitcher. The slider works off of the fastball. So whilst it's not an effective pitch in getting outs, he needs to use that fastball to work in the slider. The changeup, it's a work in progress. And again, it's we need Mel to work his magic. And we've been saying that for a few years now. And obviously the injury doesn't help. The changeup wasn't badly located. It was bottom of the zone, just under the zone, actually. It just happened to be against one of the best low ball hitters in baseball. It is Mike Trout.
That's the go zone, isn't it, for Trout? That's the problem. He went to Trout's go zone, and it really is like, it's almost like actually, it was the right pitch, wrong hitter, to be honest with you. To your point, like, I don't think it was a bad pitch overall, to be honest.
Yeah,
but
so they put a graphic up with his hot zones, and it was, low and inside is where he eats, and high and away is where he doesn't. So obviously it's a tough location for him with Meyer and his stuff. But I think slider was probably the pitch there, given the makeup of the hitter you're facing. But again, it wasn't a bad pitch. I mean, if he actually got it even lower, way below the zone, Trout's probably still swinging at that and probably has a better output. Who knows? That might be what they try to do. But it wasn't like he hung him a meatball straight down the middle. So,
no.
Against one of the best hitters in baseball history. So, let's not overreact to that too much.
No, absolutely no overreaction. And I just love the fact that he was going against Trout in that spot with that pitch. For me, that was super encouraging. Again, the outcome was not what we were looking for. I'm going to add that to my reasons for optimism too, because actually, you're right. Max Meyer's start was definitely one of the standouts. So was Jesus Luzardo's, by the way, too. Like, Luzardo wasn't super sharp and still completely dominated the Pirates, really. Which, as the series went on, we were like, okay, actually, Luzardo pitched really, really well at opening day. For me, reasons for optimism, it's primarily like this right-handed offense. I like it. I like it a lot. I see it on paper. I like the makeup of it. I like the guys. It looks deep, to be honest with you. Nick Gordon hitting in the 8-hole. Like, Nick, to me, looks like a gamer. He looks like an effective dude. I think this offense is going to play. And again, if the rotation was in a better spot and the knock-on effect would be the bullpen's in a better spot, the Marlins have won a few games already. Like, last year, it was just the offense just couldn't get anything going. This offense is scoring 5-6 runs a game. So I think you do that more often than not, you're going to win more games, particularly for an organization that prioritizes a pitch-in. So I like that. I definitely like that group. Just shouting out to the bullpen too, reasons for optimism. For me, Brian Hoeing, Declan Cronin, two guys that just stood out to me that had, in an 0-5 start, true standouts from a pitching perspective and a bullpen perspective. Hoeing particularly was immense. So was Cronin was immense too. The Marlins should have won that game, and Hoeing just saved everyone. Like, he had to do what he had to do, and he did it so effectively. So, again, it's these guys. Goes back to it. We're a pitching organization, and the fact that they can get these guys in, and they can have meaningful innings, they're going to need to do that. And that's going to be a big part of what this year is. The Brian Hoeing 3-inning special, the Declan Cronin 3-inning special. It's going to be a hallmark. Let's talk about some reasons for concern. We're going to do that very shortly. But before we do that, time to let you know about our good friends, of course, over at Gametime. All right, guys. So Gametime. This one should be a fan favorite, no doubt, because it's ticket time. Of course, Gametime is now an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Gametime app actually go down the closer it gets to the first pitch. Love that. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. Yes, sir. And, well, those last-minute deals, they're the ones, guys. They are the ones because you can save up to 60% off buying your last-minute tickets for sports, concert, comedy, theater, you name it. And they've also got these flash deals. That's what you need too. You can save even more with exclusive in-app deals on the select seats ahead of the game or event. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. And for a limited time, all users can get $20 off any MLB purchase of $150 or more in the Gametime app with code FIRSTPITCH. That is, by the way, terms do apply, but the code FIRSTPITCH, all in caps as well, so uppercase there on First Pitch, for $20 off from March 25th to April 14th only. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, guys, back here with me, Peter Pratt, and UK GOAT Sean Barrett, and it's time for reasons for concern. We've talked some green shoots of optimism, some main takeaways, some big themes, but time for some reasons for concern. We're ending it. We probably should have done this in the middle, the old poo sandwich, as they say. We're going to end on reasons for concern, potentially. Sean, give me your top 1-2 issues you've got with this roster or what you've seen in the first 5 games.
Yeah, talking about Trout's wheelhouse, this really is my wheelhouse, isn't it? I mean, I could talk about the cold starts, Jazz, Arias, who obviously will be fine, Tim Anderson. But my actual concerns are for things, much like my positives, are the things that are going to affect us in the future. Because that's where my mind is as far as optimism. And so I'm going to go with Tanner Scott. Now, you look at his numbers and you say he's got 3 ERA. It's early, it's fine. But it's the walks. 6 walks. It's so early in the season. He struggled in spring, which I don't mind. Like, closers, they work on that adrenaline, don't they? In the spring, they just don't care. Like, what's it really matter? This is a random game in front of, well, I could say a couple of thousand people, but that's every day at Marlins Park. So, yeah, the walks I'd like to see come down. And the reason why Tanner Scott's a concern for me is because he's going to get traded at the deadline.
Yeah, he is.
Because it's an expiring deal. We've seen the Marlins MO this season. So the Marlins need Tanner Scott to have a good season so that they can trade him for maximum value to a contending team at the deadline. Mm-hmm. So if he has issues this year, if lo and behold, he loses the role because of it, like his trade value plummets, and that's absolutely not what we need to be seeing. So that's probably my biggest concern at the moment. I could add, Abby as well. Obviously, we know what we're getting from him this year. The home run be damned, like the victory lap that some people were taking on the broadcast and Dada Cruz in the dugout. I couldn't believe it. I mean,
what are they doing?
This guy has been putrid. He deserves to get booed. Like, he deserves to be fired. Like, anybody who does their job so poorly, never mind getting booed, gets fired. So for him to say he didn't like getting booed, we're tough, because you've performed in a way deserving of being booed. So, yeah, that's a concern because, again, the longer we see this, the more I'm concerned that he's going to be here next year. And next year's supposed to be the year. Like, the Marlins built up a pretty decent team. They built up a playoff team last year.
Yeah.
This is the window where they should be winning.
Yeah.
So this season already upsets me because it's a season that is inside the winning year they've punted. So if they've kicked the can to 25, then Garcia needs to be gone, because if you punt 25, Like the Sandy window's disappearing.
Yeah.
So that's a concern for mine because it's for the future. I'm not too bothered by wins and losses this year. I'm worried about things for the future. So for Tanner Scott to start so slowly is certainly my biggest concern right now.
It's a great one, Sean, to be honest with you. And it does directly impact what Peter Bendix is trying to do, which is restock the farm or get in guys with multiple years of control or max amounts of control. Like control is king in Peter Bendix's will. I'm sure he has that above his office or something, like control is king or something, which is probably why you won't like Eddie Cabrera or AJ Puck after that first start. But anyway, great point on that. Tanner Scott will be traded at some point this year. Skip Schumacher spoke after the game saying, I still believe in Tanner. He's our best guy, etc. Frankly, no one else has stood up anyway. Nardi's been just as putrid, even worse. Soriano has been as bad. Like all of the leverage guys from last year, Puck's obviously in the rotation. All the leverage guys have just been so slow out the blocks, so slow. And it's cost them games, to be honest with you. And to your point, Scott, he's an asset, and the Marlins need that asset to be at max value. The reality is that max value, and I spoke about this, like, with relievers, whatever you think you know about a reliever, you don't know anything from 1 year to the next because it's not transferable. 1 year to the next, particularly for a guy like Tanner Scott that had a boom, a career year out of nowhere, effectively. I mean, what's the most likely situation? It's probably not to repeat that in all likelihood. And that was the concern. So maybe they should have done something then. But yeah, I think that's a really good point. There's loads of reasons for concern, to be honest with you, but we haven't got time. We haven't got time. So that's good. We're just going to end up on Tanner Scott not performing. I think the main thing, and this is where your head's going at, is I don't think he's going to lose the role. I think he's going to be given every opportunity to stick in that role, to play a meaningful part in high leverage innings, because yes, it helps the Marlins in some ways, but actually it helps his trade value more likely as you get nearer the deadline. So for me, yeah, the Marlins are praying for Tanner Scott to be back sooner rather than later on that one. We'll wait and see. Guys, it's been a fun episode. We've got some positivity in there and some less positive situations, but the Marlins, as we record this, are 0-5. We're back around to the top of the rotation. Hopefully the Marlins can get their season off and running at some point soon, because this can't go on. This can't go on. I mean, imagine if they went the whole homestand without any wins, the roof open all the time. I don't know. But nevertheless, guys, thanks for making Locked On Marlins your first listener. Thanks to the UK GOAT for joining me on a double episode extravaganza, 2 episodes in a week. Appreciate Sean Barrett hopping on. Look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. Programming note, there will not be a Friday episode. I am away in London to celebrate my son's 7th birthday, so there will be no episode Friday. So only a 4-episode week this week. Unless, of course, there's an emergency requirement, then I'll have to hit something on the phone. I hope that doesn't happen, but it's possible. The Joey Bart emergency pod will hit hard from the iPhone, no doubt about it. But appreciate you joining me today, guys. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow.